Adolf Hitler never hid his ambitions. From the very beginning, he saw the Soviet Union not only as a sworn enemy, home of the communism he loathed, but also as the ultimate prize. Its vast land, endless resources, and perceived racial inferiority made it, in Hitler's eyes, the key to securing Germany's dominance. Throughout early 1941, as snow still blanketed the Bavarian Alps, Hitler planned the largest military operation in history, Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. Behind the scenes, German forces were steadily being shifted eastward. Officially, the USSR was still an ally, bound by a fragile pact. Stalin, desperate to maintain peace, ignored every warning sign. His military was a shadow of its former self, gutted by his own brutal purges that saw thousands of officers executed or imprisoned. Meanwhile, Hitler had one last task before launching his eastern assault: secure the southern flank. Romania, Hungary, and Bulgaria were loyal to Berlin, but Yugoslavia had flipped, its pro-German government overthrown by pro-British forces, and neighboring Greece had aligned with the Allies. On April 6th, German troops surged into Yugoslavia and Greece. Belgrade fell within days. Athens was captured in less than 3 weeks. The Balkans were subdued. Now, nothing stood in the way of Barbarossa. On June 22, 1941, at precisely 3:15 a.m., over 4 million Axis troops stormed across the Soviet border. The largest invasion the world had ever seen had begun. The Luftwaffe struck Soviet airfields. German panzers thundered into Soviet territory. In just 2 days, they advanced over 50 miles. The Red Army was overwhelmed, disorganized. Counterattacks were crushed. Air superiority belonged entirely to the Germans. By June 29th, massive German pincers had encircled Minsk. Over 300,000 Soviet troops were captured. In many regions, especially Ukraine, the Germans were even welcomed as liberators by populations resentful of Soviet rule. Stalin was stunned. For days, he withdrew from public view. Only on July 3rd did he address the nation, calling on the Soviet people to defend the motherland. In Britain, Prime Minister Winston Churchill saw opportunity. The USSR was now in the fight. Britain was no longer alone. He pledged support to Stalin, despite ideological differences, and sent aid across perilous Arctic routes. As July unfolded, the Germans surged deeper. General Heinz Guderian's tanks neared Smolensk. Moscow was within reach. But Hitler, fearing threats from the south, made a fateful decision: halt the drive to Moscow and divert forces to encircle Kiev. Guderian protested. He wanted to push forward, but Hitler was insistent. By September, Kiev was encircled. Another 500,000 Soviet troops captured. A tactical victory, but it cost precious time. Far to the north, Army Group North had surrounded Leningrad. Hitler ordered a siege instead of an assault. Supplies dwindled. Hunger gripped the city. By winter, tens of thousands were dying monthly. The road of life across frozen Lake Ladoga became the city's only link to the outside world. Back near Moscow, German forces prepared for the final push. But then came the rain. October turned roads into rivers of mud. Tanks stalled, horses collapsed, morale dropped. Then came winter. Temperatures plunged. Engines froze. German troops lacked proper clothing, expecting victory by summer. Now, they faced the bitter Russian cold. Stalin, meanwhile, had received a crucial message from his spy in Tokyo. Japan would not attack from the east. Instantly, he redeployed over 30 Siberian divisions, battle-hardened and winter-trained, to defend Moscow. On December 5th, just as German troops came within 19 miles of the Kremlin, the Soviets struck back. A massive artillery barrage shattered the frozen silence. Then, the new T-34 tanks, superior in armor and mobility, led the charge. The Germans were forced to retreat. The myth of their invincibility had been broken. The tide of war had shifted. Operation Barbarossa was supposed to be a swift campaign, over in months. Instead, it marked the beginning of a brutal, grinding war on the Eastern Front, one that would ultimately decide the fate of the Nazi regime.